Hey, what is up YouTubers? Junk here with my Haxe tutorial number 5. Today we're going to be going over sprite sheets. Kinda. It's not going to be super in depth. It's going to be about how you can implement it yourself. The reason I say that is I'm going to be hard coding a lot of stuff, but it's just to get rid of the layer of abstraction so you guys can see what's going on. Because you need to be able to see what's going on in order to implement it yourself. So I'm going to show you in the simplest way possible, and then you guys can figure out how to use this library to your advantage. So let's get started. Let's close up this. Boop. And we're going to open up our command prompt right off the bat. We're going to start off with haxe lib install sprite sheet. And as you can see, I already got it installed, so you guys just have to install it yourself. Okay, now that we got that installed, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up our tutorial 4 and we'll start coding. We're going to start off by making a brand new class, Asset Manager. An Asset Manager is, the name is pretty self-explanatory, but it pretty much is just going to make it so we're able to grab stuff easily, and also we'll be able to cache things so we won't have to keep opening new files. That's essentially what it's going to be for, hopefully. Also, before we get too much further, we're going to go into our project XML. We're going to go in here, haxe lib name equals sprite, S-P-R-I-T-E, sheet, not 0. And that's all we need in there. This is just including a new library for our IDE for the compiler to find. Something up in my throat. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this new function, and I am going to copy over the imports we need because I don't feel like typing them out. This is actually the 4th time I've recorded this because the other 3 times Action decided not to record. Don't ask me why. It's really frustrating. But I'm doing it for you guys. Okay, so right there we just got some imports, mostly that have to deal with opening files and whatnot. So we're gonna go down here. The only ones that are really new are going to be these 2 sprite sheet ones, of course, or this one as well. So we're going to go private static var sheets. We're going to make a map, and this is what's going to hold all of our sprite sheets. And we're going to use a key as a string, and because I'm lazy, and now we're going to make a new function, a static function, that will allow us to grab sprite sheets out of this variable we just made. It's probably more along the lines of a property. I don't know if there's a huge difference between the names. I use them interchangeably. We're going to call this get sprite sheet, and we're going to make sheet name the input parameter, and the return type is going to be a sprite sheet. Okay, so we're going to start off by grabbing the bitmap from the file system. What am I thinking? Bitmap equals assets dot get bitmap data, and we're going to have a partially constructed file location because we don't want to hand in the actual file name. We want to just hand in the name of the file minus the extension and the stuff that goes before it. You see what I mean? Assets slash plus sheet name plus dot png. Okay, so now we would hand in something like ship, and then it would go look for the ship.png in the assets folder. That's what we're going for. I mostly want to do that so that I can use that as the key. Then we don't have to do ship.png as the key or something weird like that. Next, we're going to be making a sprite sheet variable. Use bitmap importer. This is in the sprite sheet library. And we're going to go bitmap. Now, for the following data I'm about to enter, I know this ahead of time because I made the sprite sheet. You can actually see it right here. I'm going to give this to you guys as well. As you can see, there's 1 column, 3 rows. So we just got to know that, and we'll be good. And we also have to know the height. We have to know the dimensions, but I got those written down. So it's going to be 1 column, 3 rows, with a width of 200 pixels. Oh wait, no, yeah, width of 200 pixels, 147 height, 0, and I'm going to put 0.75 because the images were, the sprites are still a little bit big, even though I scaled them down. We'll just go with that. Sprite sheets, and we're going to be adding behaviors now to our sprite sheet, so then we can set our sprite sheets to that state, and it will go to that spot on the sprite sheet that we're registering with it right now. So new, nope, nope, fine, be that way. Behavior data. We're going to call the first one active, comma 0, comma 1. I'll explain this in a second. True. And we're going to do 7 for frames per second. Okay, so for this array thing in the middle, you might be wondering what that is. That's pretty much saying, okay, the active state is going to be the 0 position and the 1 position. That's all that's doing. So as you can tell, for the final position, which is going to be called still, it's just going to be 2. Got to close these up. Yeah, we're going to call this one still. And this one's just going to be 2. Also, this is going to be false because it's not looping or anything, so we don't have to really worry the runtime with trying to update it. Okay, sheets dot set. We're going to be adding it to the map we created earlier now. And sprite sheet. So there, now we have a cached sprite sheet, and we're going to return it based on the sheet name. And now you might be thinking, well, that's not very efficient, because what's the point of caching it if we're going to look it up every time? Well, you'd be right. We are going to have to check to see if it's in that map. I keep wanting to calling it a dictionary, because everybody else calls it a dictionary. Haxe calls it a map. I don't know, I guess it's closer to C++. C++ calls them maps, but I think maps are the single instance of a key in a object. I don't know, whatever, it's not relevant. If sheets dot exists, that shit. Sheets dot exists, and we're gonna do sheet name. So now it's gonna go and look. No. It's going to go ahead and look through all those keys and see if one exists. If it does, it's going to return true. If it doesn't, it's going to return false. So we have to go through here. We're going to go equals false. I think my fingers have Tourette's or something. Okay. Close that all up. Okay, so this should be done. And I'm going to break here for now. Be back in a second. Alright, next step, we're going to be going to the base draw entity. Let me open that up over here. Okay. And we are going to be hacking it a little bit because, like I said before, this is just to remove that layer of abstraction so you guys can see what's going on. This base draw entity is going to be able to handle 2 instances, which is not ideal. You'd really want it to only handle one way of doing things, because right now what it's going to be doing, it's going to be either handling a sprite sheet or it's going to be handling just a regular bitmap like we've been doing, which we don't really want to do. I'd rather it be everything's loading from sprite sheets and that's that. But I don't really have time to do that with you guys right now. So it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take a while. So I'm leaving that up to you guys to figure out on your own. I might implement it in a later update video or something. But as of right now, no. Sorry. Uh, yeah, it'll probably happen later. But for right now, this is just to get you guys to show you guys what's going on and how it works. So let's start off by importing stuff. I'm just going to copy this all over because I really don't feel like writing it all out. Okay, so we got I just brought in our animated sprite sheet, the entity manager. I think that's all that's new. Yeah. And next, I'm going to be creating two new variables. One that is sprite sheet. That is to declare whether this draw type is using a sprite sheet or if it's not. And the next one is the sprite sheet, is the sprite animated, which is an animated sprite sheet, which is what it will, of course, use. You get it. Okay, so we have to come up with, we have to bring in a new parameter or a new input parameter. We're just going to call this SS bool equals false. This is a default parameter. So if you use this constructor, but you don't fill out this last one, it's going to default to false. Pretty simple. Okay, so var, or no, not var, is sprite sheet equals SS. Okay, and then from there, oh, I get there. Okay, so if it's not a sprite sheet, I want all that junk up there. Else, so if it is a sprite sheet, I want you to do the following. Sprite animated equals new animated sprite. We're going to go assets manager dot get sprite sheet image. Then we're going to add this to the state. We're going to add this to this object as a child. So sprite animated, and we have to set a default behavior. This is really bad coding, but again, just to show you guys how it works. You shouldn't be setting stuff that is particular to one class in the base class, because this right here, what I'm setting, show behavior active. This is literally only relevant to one class, which is special player, because that's what the sprite sheet is for. So I'm literally coding the base class for only one one of its higher classes. That is a horrible idea, but it's just to get the point across that you guys have to set the behavior. Otherwise, it's going to be blank when the program starts. You'd be way better off doing this in the constructor for special player. That'd be a way better option, but this is just to show you guys how it's working. Because if you go in here and you see the super function, if that all runs fine, you could actually go here and type in set default behavior, or set the behavior right there, and you'd be good. But I'm just, leaving it down here so you guys can see what's going on. Next, I don't know if that's going to help or hurt you guys, but I mean, I'm just trying to break it down so you guys can see what's going on. Sprite animated X. Sprite animated does inherit from the base class of sprite, so it should have a .x that's available to me, but it's not showing up in the IntelliSense. I don't know why. It's just throwing a fit. And I can't spell. sprite animated dot width. Yeah, I don't know why. Divided by 2. Control C, Control V, Y. Oops. And this is just to get the pivot in the center. -2, because we have to knock it up and over. And that is it for the constructor. Okay, and the next part, I think that is it. One thing we do have to add to the update function is delta, int. This is what we're going to be using to do updates for the spreadsheet. It requires a delta. If you don't know what delta is typically, the meaning of delta means like the difference of between two things. So the change, how much something has changed from then and now. Delta is typically used in games as a way to measure how much time there's been between frames, because time between frames isn't always constant. It can change. So if I'm constantly updating my frames, or if I'm updating my positions by a constant number, that means if the game's FPS increase, that means it's like, let's say I'm having an object go across the screen at 5 pixels every single update. So boop, 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 boop. Okay, now let's say the FPS decreases by half because there's something running in the background. Now it's going to be literally going half the speed. So it's going to be going, what would it be? 2.5 pixels per update. So, but it's going to be super laggy, and vice versa for if the FPS for some reason increases by 2 or multiplied by 2, yeah. But that's not very likely to happen because I believe Haxe has, what's it called? It's the thing that prevents screen tearing. Completely drawing a blank. I'll have to open up a video game and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. I'll probably remember it in like a while, or not, whatever. And we got to fix all the update functions that require this now. My goodness. Yeah, this is the wanted disadvantage to hierarchical programming, is if you change one thing in the base, then you gotta change it everywhere. It's really frustrating. There is a way around it. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called inversion of control. It's kind of a confusing thing to figure out, but once you get it figured out, it's a pretty sweet way to go about things. But you have to weigh, is it actually worth your time to go and set up? I don't know. I've never really found it worth my time, but I guess I haven't worked on a big enough project yet. So we actually have to go to our main. Oh no, wait, I didn't do that in there, did I? I put the delta stuff in the update function in the assets manager. Entity manager. That's what I said. Don't need you. Get out of there. Okay, and it's really simple for how this all works. It's just going to be var time equals lib dot. No, stop it, computer. Dot get time. I don't think I have that library in here yet, but I'll see in a second. Delta equals time minus last time. So we have to make a variable called the last time at the top of our code. What did I use last time? Last time. Control C. I'm just going to copy and paste it. Control V. So then it's able to remember what the number was from the previous go around and blah, blah, blah. Last time equals time. And then in update, yeah, we already have delta. I think that's it. Probably still have to find the library. Yeah, don't have the lib. Okay, we go up here. We're gonna include flash.lib, and that should be what we need. There's probably an OpenFL equivalent, but I didn't look for it. So you guys can look around for it. Oh, we need a capital T. Campbell casing. Okay, let's see if this works. I don't think it's gonna. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, right. It'd probably help if we went to the special player class and changed up its constructor and such. And we're going to change it to ship because that's the one we got over here. And we're going to change this to true because it is using a sprite sheet. Okay, as you can see, we got our new sprite sheet object, but it's not animated like we'd want it to be. There's an easy way to fix that, fortunately. So down here, let me open up my code just so I don't screw up. Okay, so since we have Sprite animated as a base class property, we can actually call on it sprite animated dot update and delta. There. Now it should be animated. Hopefully. Yep, there it goes. As you can see, my awesome next gen flame rendering has paid off and this game looks amazing now. So, but the ship's not moving, but the flame's going, which doesn't seem right. So let's change that. I gotta remember how I went about this last time. I had to do a little bit of a funkiness to it, but it works. So let's dump all this code because we're not using it. I dumped the WASDA thing because it was weird trying to control it all the time. So I'm just like, well, let's just go with the normal space and then you go kind of deal. I don't know. It just seemed less complicated. So I think I had to add in a. Oh no, I didn't have to do anything funky. Well, I kind of did. So we have to check and see if the previous go around the sprite sheet was still in the animated behavior. Because if we keep setting it to the animated behavior over and over again, it's going to keep resetting the animation and then it won't look like it's animating. So we just got to be careful of that. This is a bit of a hacky way to go about it, but that's what we're all about. Right? Right. No, we're not. I'm sorry, you guys, I lied. So current behavior dot name equals still. Then reset it to that. So the only time it's ever going to switch it to active is if it was previously still. This is a very hacky way of doing it. You should be having a set of states that pertains to a particular object or something. You shouldn't have to be looking at this. This is a very niche thing to be looking at because that means I'm basing the entire state of my object based on what sprite sheet it's looking at currently. Or, it's not a really good way to go around things. The next, we have to set it back to still when we're not holding space. And that should reset it. The only problem with this is that, no, we have to go down one more because otherwise that's never going to get hit. There. So now if space isn't being hit, it's going to set it to still. The only problem with this is that every single time the spacebar is not being hit, it's going to be setting the behavior. So there's better ways to go about this, definitely. Like I said before, this is just to show you guys how it's all working. So as you can see, we now have an animated ship. We can still shoot things. Yeah, you guys can see it's animated. It's kind of hard to see because it moves kind of quick. Yeah, there it goes. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this tutorial. I think I'll release a future update where this code's a little bit better. I might have to take a little bit extra time doing that though, so we'll see what happens. I have no idea what I'm doing for the next tutorial. Maybe do some sound. I don't know. I haven't touched sound yet with Haxe, to be honest. Either that or particles. Those are both good options. Particles are pretty sweet. Yeah. Particles and sound are probably the next two things I would have to do to have a more complete Asteroids game. Then after that, we could work on like a UI system and whatever, so we can have a scoreboard, and then maybe work our way up to a main menu and options menu, something. I don't know. We'll look into it. All right. It's fun having you guys. See you guys next time.